G'day guys, it's Nathan here from FBR Contracting, or as some of you know from the YouTube channel, FBR 375. So today I'm just going to take the opportunity to do a bit of a video on a rifle I've recently acquired, which is something that I've been after both professionally and personally for quite some time, which is what I have in my hands right now, which is a Rigby Big Game Series rifle in 416 Rigby with a double square bridge. We'll talk some more about that later, but first of all, a couple of things up front. So the firearm is unloaded and safe, and apologies straight up for the background noise. It is what it is. I'm in North Queensland, so plenty of cicadas and you can't really hide from those. So yeah, so anyway, as I said, I have the 416 Rigby double square bridge Big Game Series rifle in my hands at the moment, and this is something I've recently acquired for professional reasons, but obviously it's hard to go past such a aesthetically pleasing and very practical rifle just in general terms. So today's not so much a review per se. I don't think you really need to review Rigby rifles. They kind of speak for themselves. But I will talk to some of the features that a rifle like this has, where it fits, what it might be useful for in my context and some other people's context. And then we'll do a little bit of shooting with it and just got a bit of a feel for how she shoots with the express sights, which I have to confess I've already utilised those once, and they're very accurate, so quite pleasing. Anyway, the Rigby Big Game Series in 416 Rigby, they come in a couple of different calibers, but they're all proprietary to Rigby. So obviously the 416, which has been around for a long time, and also the newer 450 Rigby, which is essentially a 458 caliber version, and quite a hefty round. As I said, this one's in 416, and at the moment I'm running a mix of 400 grain soft points and 400 grain solids, depending what the task is for the rifle. And that's probably a pretty good place to start in terms of talking about this rifle, is the context in which I've got this rifle for what I do. So as most of you are probably aware, I do a fairly broad range of diverse feral animal control and dealing with problem animals in certain areas, and one of those activities that can take place from time to time and has done reasonably regularly in the last couple of years is the control of heavy bovines, or scrub cattle, buffalo, that type of thing. And it's well and good to go into those sort of situations carrying some of the more modern gear, semi-autos, 308s, that type of thing, and then utilise those firearms for some precision shooting, etc. But when you're in the thick stuff and you've got no option but to follow an animal up, and you need to make sure the destruction is humane, and the animal's hunted appropriately, then a rifle like this really comes into its own. And so there's a couple of options in these style of things. Really, for that type of thing, you could go in with a double rifle, or you can go in with a Magnum Express bolt action rifle such as this one. So what makes this rifle desirable in that context is that Rigby have teamed up with Mauser in Germany to build a rifle which essentially has all of the attributes required of a dangerous game professional rifle, albeit for use either in the civilian market for personal hunting or for professional hunters as required. So they've obviously come with a really well put together stock. They have cross bolts through the front. It is a Mauser 98 controlled round feed action and a true 4+1 magazine on these rifles, which is pretty significant when you consider the size of the round when you're talking something like a 416 Rigby. As you can probably see there, it's quite a significant piece of gear. And most of these Magnum rifles in the larger calibers, they certainly tend to be 3+1 in some of the brands that are out there otherwise. So that's definitely a strong feature of this rifle. Other things that are pleasing on a Rigby styled rifle, obviously you've got your barrel band forward, so that when you're carrying this rifle with a sling through scrub, the rifle sits a little bit lower on your shoulder so you don't snag up on things. You have express sights on top, so regulated at 65 metres, and then you have flip up sights as well. So if you were going to use the express sights at longer ranges, you'd be able to, depending on the load that you're using and the task that you're using the rifle for. This rifle is what they call double square bridge, so they come in a couple of different models. So you can get single square bridge and double square bridge in these Big Game Series rifles, and the difference essentially is on a double square bridge rifle, you have both the scope mounting point at the front and the scope mounting point at the rear, with the intent being that you can mount a scope easily and comfortably in a whole different range of scope mounting options depending on what you desire to do. On a single square bridge model, essentially you've only got the rear portion, which is a little bit lower, and you've got nothing on the front here. So they're designed exclusively for use with express sights. So a lot of the professional hunters in Africa and that sort of thing who are using these sort of rifles as stopping rifles on dangerous game might go with a single square bridge model. However, for my purposes, where I could be shooting out to ranges such as 150 metres on some of those animals, depending on what the situation is, very useful having certainly a double square bridge model, and it provides a bit of flexibility with the rifle. So for me, I've got swing off mounts, and I've got a Swarovski 1:6 optic Z6 that goes on top of here as well, which is obviously well suited to a rifle of this nature. So obviously, again, being a Rigby, it's a quality bit of gear. Excellent checkering throughout the stock, so whether your hands are sweaty, you've got blood on them, mud, whatever it may be, or just wet from the weather, you're going to get plenty of good grip. The bolt is very ergonomic and very slick for an Mauser 98 action. So a lot of the Mauser 98s on some of the different rifles, they can bind a little bit, but on a Rigby you're certainly not going to have that type of issue. And then it's got the low swing safety on it as well. So you can put it in the safe position, fully back locked, halfway but safe, and then forward to fire, so all controlled with the thumb of your master hand, which is handy. And then on the rear, obviously you've got a nice English style red cheek piece. Other side of the rifle, for me, right-handed shooter, so cheek piece on this side. You can order these guns in left hand if you like, but for me, obviously, yeah, that's where it sits. So there's heaps of information out there on Mauser 98 rifles, bolt actions, the various pros and cons, etc., of the styles of rifles to be used on big game. But yeah, suffice to say, whilst these are quite an expensive rifle, they're really the type of thing that is very useful if you're going to be going into those situations fairly regularly, and you need a firearm that you can trust, and at times where you might need to, bet your life on. So as I said, yeah, really quite an impressive bit of gear, and nice touch by Rigby, inscribed on the top here on the panel as Rigby's special 416 bore for big game. So a little bit of classic writing there as well. So these Rigbys, as good as the rifles are, and they are very good, you know, a lot of the Rigby side of things is about the name of the rifle. They've been carried by a lot of very famous hunters throughout time. Caramajo Bell, Jim Corbett, those type of people. Not necessarily this model, but yeah, they certainly come with a very proud hunting heritage, and a serious firearm for those that are either enthusiasts or may want to use this type of firearm in a professional context with that safari guiding or that type of thing, depending on where you are. So what I'm going to go do now, because the fun part of these rifles is shooting them. They're not showpieces, so you don't buy a rifle like this to have a safe clean and just have it sitting there. So we're going to go in this tropical heat, fire a few rounds under some scenarios that'd be, relatively, what the rifle's designed for with the express sights, which is also pretty good fun. So as you can see out to my front there, guys, the large grey panel, that's actually just with the plywood. Set out there, and it's got a circle in there which should basically represent the size of many large game animals, and particularly in this configuration, express sights, that scenario where you're up close and personal in the thick stuff, and we're at about 25 metres, maybe closer to 30 or thereabouts here. So what we're going to do first, we're just going to fire 3 nice controlled rounds, and then we'll bring it in and do a little bit of rapid firing to see how it goes with the Mauser 98 action. So what I'm going to do now is just fire 3 rounds fairly quickly, to simulate that type of scenario where you might be dealing with, you know, a charging buffalo or something of a more dangerous nature, where you're just basically trying to stop the animal with centre of mass hits. I don't know if that shows up clearly on the video, but obviously we're not after precision here, but what we've got is broadly a nice fist-sized group, roughly in the centre of the in the disc there. What we might do now, I'll leave the camera set up where it is, and I'll just go back a little bit further distance, around the regulation distance, and then fire a shot at about 65 metres. As you can see there, guys, some fairly impressive impact on that AR 500 steel, and these are Winchester load shooting 400 grain nozzle petitions. So in terms of the shootability of the rifle, despite not having a particularly generous pad on it, in that sort of classic English style, it's very shootable. So the stock's very ergonomic, there's a lot of weight forward contained in the barrel, and it's certainly a rifle that's very pleasant to shoot, and will get more pleasant the more I practice with it. Noting that the ammo is a little bit expensive, so I don't tend to think with this one too much. But yeah, certainly a very pleasing rifle. So for this shoot, guys, we've got 3 rounds of the 400 grain loads, and I don't know if you can see it at the front there, but there's 3 boxes at varying ranges. So I'm going to step off to the side a little bit and just do a bit of alignment shooting with it in terms of reorientating and engaging targets at different ranges, which is again pretty good practice for express sights in scenarios that could be any range of different activities depending on what happens in the field. Righto guys, we'll grab the camera and see how I did. So again, express sights, we're not aiming for precision, but good hit in the black. Good hit in the black. And a little bit of a smaller target, but again, fairly central for the style of shooting we're conducting, and good fun. Similar to the last shoot, this shoot we're going to have a go at a walking approach, and then being startled by multiple animals, and then we'll engage from down below. Again, nothing too serious, more for fun, but definitely a good way of getting used to the rifle. One up the spout, safety on, and off we go. And so again, just walking down to see how we went there. So you can see we got to roughly around about here. Close range target, nice hole a little bit low. Centre target through the black bit. And we'll wander up and have a look here. as you can see there, and just on the opposite side, so yeah, all good. So the final shoot we're going to do today is a whites of the eyes charging animal with an express rifle shoot. So essentially I've got the safety on, going to walk to an area and then we'll identify the charging animal to our front there and engage fairly rapidly in that close range caught by surprise environment and see how that looks with this rifle. So as you can see there guys, good bit of fun with the Rigby Big Game Rifle in 416 Rigby. So plenty of good features. Again, certainly not a review by any means, but if you do have any questions on this style of rifle or big bore calibers, cartridges, etc., and you want to know a little bit more, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'll answer where I can. Great bit of gear. You know, the Rigby rifles, they carry a name, they carry a price, but you get what you pay for. So certainly a slick bit of gear, very fun to shoot, and certainly looking forward to putting a scope on it shortly and testing out its capabilities at some longer ranges to see what this rifle can do. Obviously very confident it's going to do everything I need it to do, both professionally and personally. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, whack them in the comments. We'll see what we can do. Thanks.